Hello, this is Victoria from the Larder Kids in the Kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how to make root vegetable fritters and slaw. Now before we start, I want you to make sure that you've thoroughly washed your hands, tied up your hair if it's long, put a pinny on if you've got one, and then we're ready to go. So I'll start by showing you the equipment we need to do this. We've got a chopping board, quite a sharp knife, so be careful with that, a fork, a spoon, a teaspoon, a potato peeler, and then over here we've got a grater, a bowl that you can mix your mixture in, another bowl to put your slaw in, a plate to put your finished fritters on, and then we've got a clean, dry tea towel, because you're going to need that to use with one of your ingredients. I'll explain that later. A spatula and a frying pan. So today we're basically making two recipes, but to start with I'm going to show you the ingredients for both the recipes before I show you how to do each recipe separately. So we've got our lovely root vegetables and locally grown onions and carrots and potatoes. We've got a carrot about that size, parsnip about that size. We're going to use about half that Swede. Here's half a red onion, that's enough for the job, and we're going to cut off a nice wedge of cabbage from a white cabbage, so about that much, maybe a little bit more. We've also got for when we make the fritters, we've got potatoes, salt and pepper, plain flour, self-raising flour's fine if that's what you've got, 2 eggs, we've got some flavourings here. I've got cumin and paprika. If you haven't got those, you might have a little bit of curry powder, and that's quite nice, don't put too much in. We've got mayo for the slaw, and we've got some vegetable oil to fry the fritters. The first job we're going to do is to assemble the slaw. So we're going to take the wedge of cabbage and the sharp knife. Now this is where you might need an adult to help you, because we want to shred the cabbage as finely as we can. Keep your fingers out of the way, and we're going to end up with quite fine bits of shreds of cabbage, about like that. So this is the cabbage I prepared earlier, ready to go into the slaw mix. Again, the carrot, you need to cut off the end and peel it. And then we're going to grate carrot. Now grating vegetables can be good fun, but just keep your fingers away from the sharp edges on the grater. And when you've got your whole carrot grated, it's going to look like a dish of carrot like that. I'm going to do the same job with the parsnip. Cut off the end, peel the parsnip. And we're going to grate the parsnip. So that's just to show you what I'm doing. And here's the parsnip that we grated earlier, so we've got a dish of parsnip. The next vegetable is the Swede. Now these can be quite tough. I think it's probably best if a grown-up does this for you, because we need to, minding our fingers, cut it in half. Alright, so I've cut the Swede in half, and then I've cut it in half again. We've got quarters, and it's got quite a thick peel on it, so we're going to get the knife and stand the Swede on the flat edge, and then cut away from your fingers, getting all that thick, tough Swede peel off. Doing it carefully, keeping that knife well away from your fingers until you've got it to the stage where you can grate the Swede. So back to the grater, watch those fingers. So when we've grated the Swede, we've got a dish with some grated Swede in it like that. Right, the next vegetable we need for the slaw is the red onion. So this is just half a red onion, because actually I used the other half earlier. But we'll take the peel off. That's just the dry outside skin. And then I'm going to cut the top end off. And I'm going to keep the onion flat on the board. I'm going to keep my fingers well out of the way of the knife. And I'm just going to make really fine little slices of onion, as fine and thin as you can. Right. And there's half an onion that I sliced finely earlier. Right, so we need a nice bowl now, because we're going to finish making the slaw, and we're going to use half of all the shredded, sliced and grated vegetables. So half the cabbage goes into the bowl, half the carrot that you've grated, half of the Swede, half of the parsnip, making an enormous bowl full, and half of the onion. And we're going to make sure we've mixed those really thoroughly together. A little bit more cabbage in this bit, I think, just to make it look like a good mixture. So that's all mixed up together, and then we get the mayo, because you can't have a slaw without some lovely mayo or salad cream or whatever dressing you like in your house. And we'll put a good old dollop of that onto it. That might be about 2 or 3 spoonfuls, I suppose, if you've got your mayo in a jar. And then with the fork, just mix it all in together. And that is a delicious winter salad. So in the summer you might have a salad with lettuce and tomatoes and cucumber. In the winter you can make a salad from something completely different, and it's absolutely delicious. So now we've completed making the slaw, I'll put that to one side and I'll show you how to make the mixture for the fritters. The extra vegetable ingredient we need at this stage is grated potatoes. So I'm going to peel this potato, and then grate it. Now, again, careful as you're grating, mind your fingers. When you grate potato, it comes out quite wet, and that's what I've got the clean, dry tea towel for. I've only grated it all, and I always leave grating the potato till the last minute so it doesn't go a funny colour while it's waiting to be used. So when the potato's all grated, I'm going to lay the cloth out on the table or work surface. I'm going to put the potato in the cloth, and then we're going to use the cloth to squeeze the potato to get the excess moisture out of it. You can see the wet coming through on the cloth as you squeeze. You can really give it a good old scrunch and get it dry, and then very carefully unwrap it again. You don't want your potato going everywhere, and it's dry enough now to use. It might stick to the cloth a little bit, but don't worry. So I'm going to get my mixing bowl, and in goes the potato carefully. That cloth will have to go in the wash now, so I'll pop it over out of the way. And then we're going to combine the other half of all the other grated and shredded vegetables into the bowl. So that's red onion slices, grated parsnip, grated swede, grated carrot, and the shredded cabbage. Now give that a bit of a mix. Now we're doing this separately to the slaw because we do not want to make the mistake of putting grated potato into the slaw mix. The potato is only for the fritters. Right, so that's all mixed up nicely. And then we've got, see, I use my hands because I've washed them and I know they're clean. There we go. Now we're going to add to that about 4 spoonfuls of flour. Just sprinkle it over. Do 2. And give it a mix. Another couple of spoonfuls in. Right. Give that a mix. And then I'm just going to get a teaspoon, about half a teaspoon of your cumin if you've got it, paprika, and then about a teaspoon of salt. A bit of pepper, nice flavour. Give that a good mix. And then the last ingredient, hope I haven't forgotten anything, eggs. So I'm going to break the eggs into a little pot and then one at a time and give them a beat. I'll just do this in case there's something wrong with the egg. Nope, that egg's lovely. So make sure I haven't got any shell in it. No, that's alright. Add that to the mixture, and then the second egg. And then try not to get any eggshell in there. Give it a little beat. In it goes. And give that a mix. So it's all, the egg is all evenly distributed, and it starts to be a little bit moister, but it will also stick together quite nicely when you're ready to put it in to your frying pan. And that's the fritter mix. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of oil into the pan, which is getting hot on the hob, not too much, but just enough to coat the base of the pan. You need your pan medium hot to get these fritters cooked nicely. You want them to be golden brown, not black, which is what happens in my house sometimes, but there you go. And then you get a spoonful of the mixture. You can use your lovely clean hands to get it to stick together. And you pop it into the pan, which isn't quite hot enough yet, but it soon will be. And it's going to have about between 3 and 5 minutes on each side of the fritter. So do about 5 minutes on this side before we turn it over. Trying to keep it up together. They do stick together quite well. That's what the egg does. It helps it stick together. I'm not going to put too much in the pan at once, I'll just do 3 to start with. Again, get a grown-up to help you with this because the pan's hot. And then you need to keep an eye on those while they're in the pan, don't forget about them. You need to let them get cooked through on one side before I turn them over. Right, the fritters have had about 3-4 minutes on one side, so I'm just going to very carefully flip them over. I'm going to use a spoon so they don't, and you can see that they're nice and cooked, nice golden colour, and they're sticking together quite well. There we go. Another 3 minutes on, 3 to 4 minutes on this side. And those will be ready to go on the plate. Right, I'm just going to check and see if the second half side of the fritters is cooked, and oh, I think that looks perfect. I'm going to dish those up onto a nice plate. I do about 2 fritters per person, and really delicious with, if you've got some spare eggs, a fried egg, or turn that heat off so we don't burn the pan. Fried eggs, bacon, sausage, baked beans, and your root slaw as well. It's a tasty lunch or tea, and you can have those for breakfast, like hash browns. Well, I've just eaten my delicious root vegetable fritter, and I've got some spare ones left over because it made more than I thought it was going to, and there's quite a lot of coleslaw left. The coleslaw will last for 2 or 3 days in the fridge. You can put it in a container and have it whenever you fancy some. If you let these get completely cold, you can pop them in the freezer and get them out another day. As I say, I like to use them instead of hash browns for breakfast.